beauty of not being in the shed is none of you know that it's 5:30 in the morning, and we're able to just knock this out this morning. I'm reusing a title that I used after the Nashville conference, and I think it makes sense heading into 2025. And it's just that Bitcoin is mainstream. Bitcoin is mainstream in 2025. And I just put out that video yesterday of the 5 ways I'm changing my mind about Bitcoin in 2025. And just reading through the comments, good comments, but it sometimes some of them spark this concept that like change is happening. Change is happening. Humans are changing and moving fast. And this other sentence that I'm thinking a lot about heading into 2025 is like the timeline you want is going to have to be faster. And the reason why that has stuck in my brain is because I'm watching it happen across different kind of like silos of my life, and I'm seeing the truth in it across multiple silos of my life. And it's that like I, the landscape changes very very fast. The world is changing very very fast, and it's easy to kind of be a skeptic and kind of eye roll the hype of different things. A classic example of this is like just AI and like chat GPT and things like that, of just like how much is it really augmenting workflows and helping you speed up your ability to think and execute. And because I've noticed that there's very small little blockers that stop you from going faster. And I've gotten faster and faster at identifying what that main actual blocker is, and then just solving the information gap, because a lot of times the big vague thing in your head is actually way simpler to fix. Okay? And what does that have to do with Bitcoin? What that has to do with Bitcoin is that Bitcoin in 2025 is mainstream. Like I was watching a video yesterday, the 2024 wrap up from Greg Eisenberg, just good entrepreneur, had a lot of growth on YouTube this year. Plan on watching him a lot more this year, and going through his net worth breakdown and just different portfolio things, and just very very casual mentions of crypto and how it's 2% of his portfolio, mostly made up of Bitcoin. And a former me, like a me 2-3 years ago, would have been like, man, that's crazy. Like that guy doesn't it would have been from a place of frustration and anger that a smart person like that was so quote unquote under allocated to Bitcoin, right? But and I've told this story before earlier, when I used to work in Orange County and would work with a lot of people, I would get the very almost tangible pat on the head of the good job, Brian, you have money now, we have money too. And there wasn't this it was hard to make this connection of the social philosophical impact of replacing fiat money with the investment case. People would only see through the investment lens, and then it's weird to make your quote unquote online identity about an investment. And that was the state of Bitcoin for a lot of years. And for 2025, that's no longer the case. 2025, Bitcoin is a cool kid at the party. Bitcoin is mainstream. It's being talked about at the highest levels of the world in multiple contexts. And so different just pockets of the internet you can see are still kind of stuck in previous narratives or previous kind of ways of thinking about it, which is fine. Sticking to one single way of thinking about something and going all in on one thing can have very very good returns, and very good kind of it can help you block out the noise and focus on one thing, because over diversification of your attention and energy can water down all your results completely. Absolutely completely. I think though that the fact that people that have made their success in other niches, this is actually what it is summarized. I'm no longer interested in kind of competing for my niche versus your niche. If you have a different niche and you're crushing it, that's awesome. I've almost had a higher empathy and a higher respect for other niches now. If you have success, if you have found success, that is awesome and amazing. Because finding success is not easy. Being successful and being having an impact and creating something is not easy. That's actually very, very hard. And so if you've done that in any niche, that's amazing. And I'm tired of kind of these online conversations of my niche is better than your niche or whatever. Or this happens a lot in like states, like what state you live in or whatever. And I'll say California is the greatest place in the world as much as the next person, but I don't want to make my kind of shtick or thesis on the the Bitcoin niche is better than this niche or whatever. I'm entering a phase, and I think 2025 is like entering a phase where it's like Bitcoin as X% of other influential people's mind share will be at the highest that it's ever been in a good perspective. Like the fact that, and again, I'm just using Greg as an example, like for this video, like the fact that like he's crushing it in all these other niches and executing at a high business level over here, but then that Bitcoin and crypto is sitting at just like a sizable X good percent right here is perfect. That literally means that Bitcoin is moving mainstream. The fact that the president of the United States is doing all this other stuff in the world, like all this other complex stuff in the world, like whatever, but that Bitcoin and crypto is sitting just like right here as X% of something that's happening at that level is perfect. Like Bitcoin is moving mainstream. And so that requires a different mindset about it. And so I'm trying to have a lot of flexibility entering this year. And I want to, because like Bitcoin is a big part of what has like led me to be who I am today from like a personal and professional network perspective, and from like a financial net worth perspective, and from like a mindset and confidence perspective. Absolutely. What I'm realizing though is that in order to take it to the next level, other things have to be added to it. Like other things have to be added to it because Bitcoin is entering the mainstream now. And so being like a quote unquote, just like, I don't even know, like having that be like a key part of like my like shtick, I guess, or like I would say portfolio of who I am and what I'm doing is still there. Like it's still there and still very powerful because the growth trajectory of Bitcoin is still very high. But I guess what I've noticed, I said this in a interview that hopefully will come out sometime in Q1 that I did on a different channel about like why we hold rental properties. And maybe this sounds superficial or not, but like why we do is because it helps round out kind of like the seriousness of like wanting to be taken seriously as a person that can like impact the world, because real estate carries with it like some degree of credentialism. Like, and I say that in a neutral way. Like credentialism is frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. Like I've been I've been gated on opportunities because of credentialism, as I'm sure like you have and a lot of people have, and everyone suffers from a form of like imposter syndrome and this thing of like needing to kind of being aware of your like branding and impact on others. Like all of that's true, and I think it's good that there's like been a rejection of that over the past like few years as well, and I'm completely on board with the like overall being a rejection of credentialism. I think it's always going to exist in some form or another, and I think your understanding of Bitcoin is again in 25 entering that phase of understanding Bitcoin is like shorthand for you have called the changing landscape of the world correctly. The previous version of that was having a real estate portfolio. And the reason for that is because a real estate portfolio was the number one way to become a millionaire in the United States up to the point of Bitcoin. That's the reason why there's so much synergy there. And so that's an example of a way I've already been trying to change my mindset and like have Bitcoin augment a bigger picture heading into 2025. And I think that's going to become more and more important. And so that's like Bitcoin is mainstream in 2025 is going to require a changing mindset and updating mindset. So taking the best of what has gotten Bitcoiners here today, augmenting it as the level of influence and the level of conversation continues to increase and increase. And Bitcoiners have always prided themselves on being experts at game theory. And I think recently, like one thing that happened in 2024, 2023 was I think that the game theory skillsmanship kind of like softened a little bit. Like I think that is what kind of opened the door for like a new crop of influencers, and kind of all of the like ordinals and Bitcoin layer 2 stuff that happened, and the popularity of that kind of exposed that how kind of tone deaf might be too harsh, but like the old class of kind of Bitcoin influencers and educators kind of had grown stale, and there wasn't any new. They weren't fully seeing the landscape of the world, and so that was happening in kind of a Bitcoin slash crypto context. And then kind of the same thing is beginning to happen a little bit at the like quote unquote real world politics level. Like that world is extremely complicated, and this whole concept of like, are the ETFs good for Bitcoin or not good for Bitcoin? Like you can see every single version of that take like out there on the internet. But kind of just this concept of, in order for Bitcoin to be 10x, 100x bigger as a software from where it is right now, extremely different things are going to happen that are in either me or yours head like right now, and there has to be some flexibility there. Like there has to be some flexibility there.